Welcome along, everyone. The live lounge is here. As you can see, Dan is here, and Gob, we've brought him in all the way from Turkey, where he's having a little bit of work done.
I'm looking forward to getting his recommendations. I'm in the market for hair.
Only joking, we've brought his boy band member back instead. He's got the backwards cap on. Hey! Welcome along, everyone. How are we all doing?
We all good?
And having said that, he's in the chat room as well. Yeah, all good. How is everyone on this? Fine.
It's nice to be joined by Dan, because Dan's normally my replacement while the joke's on me. So it's nice to be telling the joke instead of being the brunt of it.
Yeah, it's quite nice to see it. I feel like it's been I've spent that much time filling in for you. I don't think you and I have been actually on together for quite a long time now, have we?
No, we haven't. You've been my backup, mate. You've done a great job.
See, this is what happens when people miss nights. And look, I'm sure you boys will have your fun in a couple of weeks when I'm in the air going to New York and I'm not here and you lot are doing the show. I'm sure I'll be the
I'll be heartbroken for you on the way to
yeah,
devastated.
Such a hard life he's got, hasn't he, Dan? That's what it is. I'm taking my cap off now. I can't sit like this for 2 hours.
Look, chat room is in nice and early. Let's come and say, Weekly Darts Cast is in. How are we doing? Bob? A couple of ones I've missed out. We'll come on to them when we talk about the point. Tommy, how are we doing? Oh, we've been doing that all year, Morgan. Don't worry about that. We are. Shit. James is in. Matthew. God, what a debate that'd be. Paddy, how are we doing? Gob is in. How's the wife's favourite? Dan, look, there you are.
Yeah, everyone's wife's favourite but mine.
Now, Gob.
Bless you. Bless you.
Cheers today, buddy. Thank you very much. I've missed one out. Where was it? Oh, there we are. Michael said, greetings from the Big Apple International. So, busy show as always. Plenty to be going on with. Connor is going to be joining us around 8:30 for a good old chinwag about how he's gone and things like that.
I'm loving the segment now of the desk. Last week was one of my favourites. And I know we say this most weeks. We come off and we do, that was great that we had X1. But last week, it was just very, very insightful to probably see another side of darts that we don't always get to speak about or see. And a perfect timing. So we're looking forward to this week as well.
Yeah, and Gob says, right, he's popping off, just coming to say hi. More to the fact, due to his Instagram picture, she said, oi, put your phone down. We're having some time together. It's my birthday.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely just popped to the toilet or he's popped somewhere.
Yeah.
There's no idea that
he's 100% watching from a public lavatory at the minute.
Super. Look, right, plenty to be going on with. Premier League is reaching its conclusion. Plenty of talking points from that. Some interesting interviews. Plenty of talking points from the Euro Tour. A big debate. And it was something that Wayne Mardle said on Twitter, which got me thinking about is the Pro Tour irrelevant? And we'll come on to that later on in the show. And I kind of see where he's coming from because it feels like it at the moment. But we will rewind. We'll go back to Leeds. Chat room, first of all, first impressions of the night in Leeds before we look at the action.
Shall we spend 2 hours talking about the Premier League now? Dob ain't on. We can just dob all out. We can go back and look at every night.
Leeds is cool, man. Like, Leeds is one of my favourite. I'd say I'm pretty lucky. I've dragged myself around quite a few of the different arenas that Premier League nights are in. And Leeds is one of my favourites. It's such an odd shape. It's like that semicircle sort of amphitheatre, almost like sort of Greek theatre. It's dead cool. I think it makes for such a cool environment when you walk out. It's so high, just very different to a lot of the others. I think it's dead cool.
Yeah. look, the last 2 weeks when we've been in big venues, there has been one major issue, and that is the draft. The last 2 weeks, it has been bad. I was going to go in then, but it's not been great, and it is in the bigger venues we go to. This is becoming an issue, boys. We're seeing players winning and still moaning about it and still complaining.
Yeah, because he's having it seems to be having an impact on performance as well. So, and you can see that the frustration's on the players. We talked about last week with Price sort of moaning final time, and it's one of those. It's the same for both players. Yes, it's not right, and I agree with you, Phill, in regards to it's not good that it happens, especially at these larger venues. However, the sport of darts now they're not that big that it does need those venues, especially for the Premier League nights. They just need to look at making sure that it's the right thing for the players, so the players are playing under the best conditions, so we can see the best performances.
I find it, I find it staggering that it's an issue, just because of the PDC, and for someone one of the things I do for my real job is I look after lots of big and complicated buildings, and then we have to meet, and I just think the PDC do an incredible job in terms of setting up and rigging things, and the setup is unbelievable. I just can't believe it hasn't been figured out. There's got to be ways, whether it's air curtains at the side of the stage that stop the draft getting past, or so there's a number of different things that you can. It blows my mind that it's not being solved. I just think it's dead simple.
But is there also a thing on the certain aspects that will be tested before each event? Obviously, with the interpretation of the reading and all that sort of done, there's testing that would take place. But something like this, would they test that? Would there be any sort of test that would be able to see that? Because from a normal, non-professional darts player, you probably wouldn't notice the difference. Because you tend to use playing in a pub and whatever, you won't really see it. But playing on a stage, it has that different feel to it. So
listening to the guys that were talking about it, you can't test for it when you're rigging up, because this was in Leeds. The issue was, Dan, you'll know, as you come in the front doors at the First Direct Arena, all those doors are open to get people in.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that they have to be open as well for fire regs and stuff like that to get people out as well. So the draft's going in, and then it's scuttling around the corridors where they're round, and it's almost creating a vortex and staying in and just swirling.
Yeah, and what I can't work out is, and again, if you know what's causing it, for me, so you get these, it's called an air curtain. If you ever walk through a set of automatic doors in a massive building like a hospital or something, there's these sort of air curtains that's like big fans that sit in a strip above the door. And what it does is it essentially works to stop all the cold getting in the building. But if you had air curtains either side of the stage, they're just just fans that blew air vertically towards the ground. It prevents things circling and going past. So it would literally be like strips either side of the stage, firing air towards the floor. And it would act like an air curtain. It would stop the draft. I just think it's dead simple. And I can't understand why no one's solved it yet.
Yeah, well, we saw the tweet that was then deleted from Johnny, and his point was right that they're playing for a lot of money here.
Yeah, agreed. It's too basic for me to not be put right. I just think it needs solving.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row, and it's happened, and we're in another big arena this week in Manchester. So it'll be interesting to see if it's a problem again at the MEN.
My least favourite venue, the MEN, on the tour.
Is it?
No, because it's the most unprepared, mate. I've never been anywhere that gets surprised when, you go to the bar and you ask for a beer, and it's as if they didn't expect anyone at darts to want a beer because they've run out and they never bought any carriers in or anything like that. It's just a shambles. It's nothing wrong with the venue. It's just the organisations. Every year has been dreadful. That's why I've dipped out of Manchester this year.
It would only be fans, because we all know that sports people don't drink.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Ask the BBC today.
I asked it. Right, here we go. Going a little bit posh. Set a second screen up, mainly because I didn't have time to edit anything. But here we have the results from Leeds. And first up, if you're Chris Dobie, you're scratching your head because you have played better than a lot of players in this Premier League so far, yet you don't have the points tally that others do. Is that a fair assessment, would you say, for Dobes?
Yeah, I think it sums it up fairly well. That we spoke about last week. Was it Mensah as well? Who was a player who played very well for it. Just
as well in his second stint at it.
Dobie just seems to be falling that way. Whoever he comes up against seems to be able to find a game. But one thing it's highlighted is that obviously the conversation around the players who were in here, and Dobie led him through to winning the Masters, and his performances generally have showed it was a good pit. It's just that results haven't followed that up, and unfortunately he's probably now out the race. Well, he has to do something ridiculous, doesn't he, to put himself in there. So it has been, that's a story of Dobie's Premier League, a fantastic start. But if you'd have asked him after week one to only be double his points tally in 10, 11 weeks from week one, it's not a great return for someone who's playing so well.
Yeah, agreed. Then Michael against Peter, it was a scrappy game. Again, Michael didn't play particularly well, and you feel that ever since that night in Dublin when he told us he was already in the playoffs, he's lost a little bit of motivation for the Premier League, and that's kind of showing because Peter didn't have to play amazing to beat him.
No, I think he's there. He's sort of got one foot in the final. Well, we know he's got one foot in the final MVG, and it's just how motivated he can get himself. Because let's be honest, like Michael Van Gerwen doesn't like to lose darts matches ever against anyone, especially not on the telly in a big arena. But I do agree, he's probably got just something in the back of his mind that knows he's there. It's not particularly important. He's not fighting and scrapping for anything. I don't think he'll be heartbroken if he doesn't win the league. It's not about coming top. It's about winning the Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah. And then Gerwyn Price, sensational. Again, 6-2 win over Johnny Clayton. And then Nathan Aspinall, 6-4 over Dimitri Vandenberg. No doubt we'll touch on Nathan later on when we talk about the Euro Tour as well. Semi-finals, Michael Smith beating very much out of sorts Peter Wright. 17-point drop in his average from game one to game two. Now, that's more the worrying thing. That is an almighty drop-off between games. 5-6 points, okay, maybe, but 17 is incredible.
Yeah, we talked about this sometimes from sort of day to day on the Euro Tour. Someone playing so well on the Friday, then despite on the Saturday. The worrying thing there is this is the same night. So what, about an hour between game one and game two? And it's just that preparation just hasn't got it right at all. It's a huge concern. But I guess we're saying that generally about Peter Wright at the moment. There's still a lot of question marks about where his game is, and that was shown on Thursday night.
Yeah, I think he just regressed a few weeks because the way the game that we saw from him in that semi-final wasn't a million miles away from what we almost become used to seeing from him in quite a few of the weeks leading up to it. So I just think it was a bit of a regression, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. Gerwyn Price beating Nathan Aspinall. Again, bit of a strange game, but it was Price who came through. And then in the final, Michael Smith, 6-4 winner over Gerwyn Price. Both of them over the ton marker. Michael Smith on the night made it look effortless, boys.
It's just... It took the lead early on, and there's only a few players in the world who can have runs of leads and they're just completely unplayable. And you feel like it's game one. And you should never think that against anyone with the form that Gerwyn Price is in. But I thought he was just outstanding in his final. And to be honest, Phil, I was probably surprised that it was only a 104. It felt like it was better than that. I thought he was that good. So it's very, very concerning now because I think we've spoken about this being a 2-horse race for the Premier League, and Bully Boy can keep that sort of form for a few weeks, he's going to be dangerous. Because for me, I think he's in. Obviously, he needs a few more points, positions he is, but I think it's going to be a straight swap now between Asp and Clayton.
Yeah, right. Before I play the clip, I clocked it straight away in the semi-final. Did it come across to you guys watching on TV how frosty that handshake between Smith and Wright was?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I thought so. Did you, Dan?
Being really honest, I was watching Newcastle be amazing. And sorry.
No, fair enough. Yeah, I clocked it straight away and I was like, oh, because I didn't see anything during the game. Normally, you see something during a game which sparks that kind of ending, but there wasn't. And we'll play the clip from Smith and then we'll have a chat.
About falling into a trap. Did something happen between you and Peter? It seemed a bit of a frosty handshake between the pair of you as well.
It was a bit weird, that, wasn't it? They even asked when I come back upstairs why he just slapped my hand. I didn't do nothing, didn't open my mouth, didn't say nothing. After the first game, he was moaning about the wind, and maybe again the second one, he was snatching a lot. And I was watching him throw, he didn't look like Peter Wright. Maybe he was annoyed with himself, but he took it out on me, so that's his problem, I guess. I just had to get on with my own job, and I think I did it well. No, it's nice. It is nice. I do enjoy winning and enjoy doing what I've been doing after the Worlds and at Bahrain especially. I've been poor. By my own standards, I've been poor. I got lucky the other week in Germany. I was still poor playing that, but I got lucky. And tonight, I think I played well tonight. I think it's coming back. That little break in Vegas has helped. I've got to relax, chill out. I finally got to celebrate winning the Worlds and being world number one. And yeah, it does feel good. I feel like I'm in a decent place again now. I feel like October last year, leading up to the Grand Slam, I feel good now.
It was an interesting one. Look, one, obviously, he's great that he's now settling again, and I think it was important that he had the opportunity to celebrate being world champion. Yes, look, he kept the Daily Star busy for a few days with ridiculous headlines and stuff like that. But for himself, he got the chance to celebrate it, which he hadn't had yet, and I think that's important.
Yeah, we've seen in recent years with the COVID stuff and you know, players not being able to sort of enjoy the trophies they've won. You know, to be going and showing them off and sort of using them to be a representative of the sport and going out and doing stuff and being seen places. And it is quite nice that regardless of whether people think they do or not, the world champion of any sport carries a bit of a responsibility with it, in that you do by proxy become the face of the sport for that year. And it is nice that the world champion can go and go places and shake hands with people and be photographed. And yeah, it's a bit silly that the Daily Star put bits and bobs of odd strange things in. But for me, I just think, well, that shows darts moving places because it's getting mentioned in the mainstream media. So it's sort of more progression in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, there is that way of looking at it. But the actual incident itself was strange because, as Michael said, he didn't know why, and he didn't get an explanation afterwards either.
Yeah, I was trying to think back when it happened. Is there of any sort of previous history between the two, and nothing really comes to light.
Right.
So there's normally, if it's not something that you've seen in game, it can just be that something that's followed on from previous games or something you've seen, but literally no idea. And the fact that Michael doesn't know either probably made it more clear as to why we don't understand as well, because it seems like it's just an issue that Peter had and no one else is aware of that issue.
Yeah.
Without seeing it, it sounds a bit petulant, to be honest, without having seen it.
So from there, we have the table. Top two, done and dusted. Do we think, are we adding Smith to that done and dusted list yet?
So my comment earlier was, I'm not added into the list yet. I just think he will. Just the way he's performing, I think it will end up going down to a race between Asp and Clayton. But 23 points isn't enough, especially with the amount of weeks we've got left. Just looking at Clayton's games, Peter Wright this week, Dimitri next week. There's opportunities for Johnny to gain, you would think, a couple of points in those, and then, potentially then go on and progress even further those weeks. So I think Smith will make it, but I don't think he's done enough just yet.
Okay.
And sorry, just one more point on that. The key thing as well for me is making sure he's in that third position for the final week.
Well, I just think it's looking at. I mean, I know we haven't gone through next week's fixtures yet, but Smith's playing Nathan, so as long as he wins his opening game, for me, that's him in. He's done.
Well, I was about to say we'll come on to Manchester later on, but the fact that they play each other opening round, and the struggles Nathan's having at the moment, and the form Michael Smith's in, if Michael Smith wins that, are we ticking him off if he beats Aspinall this week?
For me, I am, yeah. If he beats Aspinall, I just, with the games that are left and the fixtures that are there, like Nathan plays, like again looking ahead, but Nathan plays Gezi Price in the last week. Not the man you want to play when you really need to, when you have to win the night at the minute. So I just think if Smith beats Aspinall, then he's definitely got. He's certainly not going to slip out the top four.
Yeah, I agree, Dan. I think if Smith wins, if he beats Asp, he's certainly then odds-on favourite to be in third position for the final week, and that will confirm it unless Dimitri doesn't win back-to-back weeks before going into Aberdeen. So a Smith win will be enough. No, but that's the only way that can physically happen.
Just putting it in a sentence.
I'm not saying it will happen. He's going to win one. They're all going to win one, remember? He's not going to win back-to-back.
Right now, who would you rather be, Nathan Aspinall or Johnny Clayton, with 3 regular nights to go?
Easy one. Johnny Clayton, the fixtures.
Yeah, Johnny Clayton's got far, playing Peter then Dimmy, and obviously we don't. The last one all depends, doesn't it? But knowing that he's got Peter then Dimmy the next 2 weeks, and let's be honest, I just think if you were going to pick anyone out of that league, if you said to any player you can play whoever you want for your next 2 who you're having, I think they'd say Peter and Dimmy.
Yeah, it's also the fact that Nathan is fighting with himself at the moment as well.
You can look even further to Dan's point of who you'd want to play. If Johnny gets past Peter Wright on Thursday, he's then on the winner of Derby and Dimmy, who are also in the bottom half, who are probably out the race for playoffs. So it's not just the possibility of winning a semi-final spot. He's probably favourite to go on and get to the final on Thursday. So huge question marks for Asp, how he's playing at the moment and the draw he's got.
I agree. That night in Aberdeen could be interesting because it could be Aspinall versus Clayton in that quarter-final, which would be kind of reminiscent of Cullen against Wright in Newcastle last year.
Yeah, it is a bit.
But it's nice of them to put that on second game, so the Premier League's all sorted by 8 o'clock in Aberdeen.
That's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looking at it, look, there has been a distinct lack of motivation. Forget, again, chat room, let me know what you think as well. Forget whether this format is here to stay, but should there have been a bonus for topping the table to still giving them something to fight for and making top spot mean something?
100%. Because I don't actually think on the end of 1916 it would mean anything to Price or Van Derwin. I think if it was someone who's not been in that sort of position, I know Price hasn't, his Premier League form has suggested he's not been top in the league, but for other players it might mean something if they were currently there. But you've got to have a bonus for winning the league. It's a very, very long format. 16 weeks, and then the person who finishes potentially 10 points is it at the moment? 11 points, sorry. That could be someone 15, maybe 20 points behind top, who then goes on and lifts the 250k, but you don't get a benefit from finishing top of the league. It's very strange. I don't know what it would be. I don't know how much it would be or what it would be, but there's got to be some benefit.
Well, it used to be 25 grand for topping the table. In the old system, it was 25 grand for topping the table.
Yeah, it doesn't make any. It doesn't make any sense. Like the payouts this year, and like obviously there is a the weekly winner bonus and everything else, and it's quite nice that it's £1 million. Isn't it? It's the £1 million roadshow because that's what the totals add up to. But I almost think it's a bit. I get really confused by the lack of a prize for winning the league. What genuinely bamboozles me, and I think, well, it's a bit weird, is you get 75 grand for finishing fifth. If you finish in the top four, run like semi-finalists, you've got 85 grand. For me, like, you don't get enough to get, like if you get to the last four, you make that finals night. Like, I just think, well, if you finish fifth, you're 10 grand short. Like, that's all right, isn't it? You haven't really lost. It's not. There's not a huge amount. Yes, you've got the chance of winning by being there on finals night. You've got that opportunity. But I just think it's really. I think the prize fund's really strange in the way it's distributed. I think.
Joel makes a good point.
I don't understand why they do the points as they do. You win a quarter final. Why is it not just 1 point? You win your semi final. It's not two, and then.
Yeah,
I don't understand the 2-3-5 split. I never did from the off. They changed it. It never used to be that many. I know it was nightly wins, and it was just 2 points, wasn't it? And one for the draw. I don't understand why you then the 2-3-5.
Yeah, that's why they scrapped the winners bonus, was because of the nightly bonus for winning. But this is going to sound daft because £10,000 is an awful lot of money. But the way the sport is now, the big players can earn more than that in a weekend doing exhibitions.
They can, but for me, to get that, I'm not... We're talking about the PDC handing out more money by saying it should be overall. For me, drop that to 8 grand for the winner. And then 2 grand from 16 weeks is 32 grand. 32 grand is the winning amount for whoever tops the league. You're not putting any more in. It's not costing the PDC any more money. I agree with you. 10 grand isn't a huge amount of money for these players who can go and earn it. So if you dropped it to 8, but you put that league winner bonus in at the end of the season, it wouldn't cost them any more money. And £32,000 for me to good value for someone who's done and been consistent over 16 weeks. And I think we'd also have seen, I think we'd have also seen a different Michael van Derwen if that was in. I'm not saying that Price wouldn't be top now, but for MVG, you mentioned it, he knew when he was in the last four. If that motivation's there to win £30,000 or £20,000, whatever they decided to do it as, I think we may have seen a different Michael.
Do you think there's an element of him that if it was 30 quid, he'd still play for it? It's just the fact that because there isn't a prize for that, it just psychologically just thinks, well, what's the point? I'm there, I'm in, aren't I? So why push myself through the stress and strain? Just take it easy. It's
not hitting double 12 on a 9 darter because there's no prize money, or not hitting the black for 147. It's that.
That's it. That's what
it is. Then, isn't it? Why do I need to do it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's. No, Joel, that's incorrect. Top of the table doesn't earn you a spot in the Premier League, mate.
There's nothing that guarantees you a spot in the Premier League apart from he was winning the Masters. That was about it.
Yeah, and that won't happen next year. Either. Back to after the World Championship it is, and it's good timing. Right, we're going to play a quick ad because our guest has arrived. So we will be back on the other side of, where are we? This one here. Back in a sec. And as if by magic, there he is, the one and only Mr. Connor Scutt. How we doing, buddy?
Not too bad. How are you guys?
All good, mate. Great to have you on the live lounge.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so it's been a while since we spoke. First of all, how are you in terms of darting wise? Happy with everything, the way it's going?
Yeah, I feel like I'm playing a little bit better than what I was this time last season, which is good. Yeah.
Was there maybe a little bit of too much expectation on those shoulders? Because what you did in the Live League Stroke Super Series kind of catapulted you into Q School stardom, where it was expected that you got through. And did you then go into your first year as a tour card holder with that extra pressure?
I don't think so. I think my main goal for Q School was sort of take a leaf out of Suits' book and average 90 plus most of the time, and then hopefully I'll get a card. If I don't, then fine. But if I do, brilliant. But the expectation thing, I wouldn't say that was a huge thing, because I think my second ever Pro Tour, I made the board final, and my third one, I made the semis. So I took to it quite well, other than the Euro qualifiers at the start. I took to it okay. And then as my form dipped, Lakeside happened.
Yeah.
That didn't help, to be fair. I mean, that was a lot of pressure, being Bookie's favourite and stuff like that. Well, it was me and Menzies were both Bookie favourites, weren't we?
Yeah.
I don't think that helped, and losing that the way I did.
Looking back on it, do you regret going to Lakeside, being a PDC tour card holder? I know that you won your place there and deserved to go, but maybe in hindsight, would it have been better not to go?
No, I learned an awful lot. What messed me up the day was my preparation. I got there probably 2.5, 3 hours before I had to play my game. And I was on in the evening as well, so I didn't have a chance to have a throw on the stage and just little things like that. Waiting for family who have never come to see me live before to turn up and everything. I just wasn't well prepared at all. I was trying to juggle too many things when I should have just been focusing on the darts.
From a darts fan perspective, just winding back to obviously the result didn't go the way at Lakeside. But how good was it? Hearing your name being called out, walking up onto the stage, and knowing obviously all the famous players that have played on there, and you now having the opportunity to do as.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I went to Lakeside years ago, so I used to do a Southern County youth tournament. So I was there when I was sort of 16, 17, just like starting to play the game. So it was nice to come back and like see the thing, like little pictures on the wall and everything. See all that and then think, oh, I'm going to be up there in a minute. That's going to be great. But no, it's a bittersweet experience for me. I took a lot of good things. Well, I tried to turn the negatives from it into positives, just learning things, because it's the first time I've ever done something like that. Even though I did do the UK Open that year on the main stage and whatever, first game, played okay. So I thought, TV, I'll be fine, and got up there and I was just completely thrown.
Not the first or the last to be thrown by TV cameras, mate. Don't worry about that one.
No, it was so strange. My preparation just wasn't correct at all. I mean, if you look at me for like Players Championship tournaments now, I get there when doors open. I beat Mervyn King in there once.
Wow, Christ.
But no, yeah, I'll get there nice and early and make sure all my preparation and stuff is done properly.
What was it like switching equipment as well? Because obviously that came along the same sort of time as you came onto the tour, and making that transition across. Was that difficult as well?
Yeah, that was really difficult for me, because the Whitlocks were what I was using before, the Live League and everything. They got me my card, like a few good experiences in the Live League, and they were the dart at the time. And then I think it was a week before Lakeside, I snapped a point, or maybe like a couple of days before. And that happened to me at the Live League before as well. Yeah. I think it was my first time of mine. I snapped a point and had to actually borrow Simon Whitlock's actual darts for the evening.
Yeah.
Which was strange. But yeah, I snapped a point, like I think it was a few days, if not a week before Lakeside, I snapped a point on my darts I was using. I was like, right, I was just an omen. I'm going to have to use the ones that Mission made for me, which were a great dart. I threw some lovely stuff with them, but I just wasn't ready to throw them under pressure just yet, I think.
We've seen that from many players. It's knowing when to finally make that transition to a new dart. And you listen to the very elite, they say, look, I can throw anything, but it's trusting your equipment under pressure.
It's not being able to look for an excuse as well. It's very easy to go, oh, I only got these darts last week. I've played absolutely rubbish because they're new. I wasn't used to them yet and all that sort of stuff. But it's learning. It's not the dart. It's me. You can't blame something that you can hit 180s for fun with in practice, but not in a game. You can't blame it anymore, really.
What's the biggest thing you've learned for 18 months on tour?
Confidence, to be honest. Like trusting myself a lot more than what I did, because I'm one of them that thinks far too much. Like I'm a very big tinkerer with my equipment and things, and like overthinking things a lot. So just learning when to sit down, stop practicing, have a rest for a minute, just be confident that I'll be able to, like, my natural ability will sort of carry me through rather than tiring myself out on the practice board before I actually start a long day of a comp.
That's a real interesting insight, boys, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very much so, because a lot of people see as especially from an outside looking in, when I get to the venue, you talk there about preparation for Lakeside being like 2.5 hours. A lot of people would then think, oh, they are just standing on the dartboard for 2.5 hours, and but it's just obviously making sure in between games you have your breaks and you have your little 2-3 minute intervals. So it's interesting to hear that how you prepare isn't just practice, and it's making sure that you get that rest and preparation in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, in the reality of darts, unless you're playing like a World Championship final or something, you've only got to be good for about 15-20 minutes. So there's no, it's like, say you're trying to get the world record, like deadlift or something. You're not going to do the world record deadlift on the day to warm up, are you? You're going to warm up like with littler weights and more often to warm your muscles up. It's the same for darts, I think, if you're going to do a long day.
Yeah, you're probably right, and it's probably the same for the vast majority of sports, isn't it? You know, you don't find Premier League football teams. They don't go out and do 90 minutes on the morning when they're going to do 90 minutes in the afternoon at 3 o'clock, do they? It's not. But I think people don't understand how taxing playing darts can be over a period of time. The level of focus, the strain it genuinely does have on your body physically, and how tiring it is to play long form games through a day. That I think people just think, oh, well, the way to prepare for darts is just to play darts for 8 hours, isn't it? And then in the 9th hour, you'll be great by then. And it's so far from the truth, but really interesting to see it like properly applied and how that works for you.
That's something I've only learned sort of recently, because I was one of those players that get there and I practice until I had to play, which it just makes you tired. So you have like really bad first game or like an even worse second game. It's just about not burning yourself out. If you watch the big boys on like a Players' Championship day, they don't stand there the whole time. They take rests. It's almost like you're just sitting down for a minute just to recharge your batteries, and then you go back up. Which I think it just helps you concentrate and stuff like that as well.
And from someone fairly new to the tour, being on there, just about 18 months now, are you someone who watches a lot of what the top players do, the top pros, the ones who've been there 20-30 years, and just try and pick from them, even if it's not asking them, by just watching them? Because you hear it in other sports, mainly like team sports, where they'll look at what other players are doing or look at how other teams work. Is that something that you take on, or is it just head down and crack on?
I normally look around, sort of. I watch the players that I know are in form and what they're doing, which sounds strange. Like, say if like someone won the Players' Championship the day before, I watch them the next day, see, oh, right, what's he doing? What's he like? How's he like preparing for stuff? Because by rights, I don't know. I've never been a professional dart player before, and these guys have for years. So if I'm not asking them what they're doing, I'm watching.
That's real interesting, isn't it? A real insight, taking it all in and everything like that.
Yeah. It is a dog world. You are there to be another professional, take money from another professional, look at it however you want in that sense. So it's weird that you explain it in the way that I'm trying to take money from someone who I'm learning from how I can get the better of them, which really is what you're doing.
Unfortunately, it's a game where you get paid on performance, isn't it? You don't get paid a wage for not doing anything, unfortunately. So if you can take little tidbits, you got to do it.
I think it's rare as well across professional sports that there isn't an awful lot of other sports that have that, because it is a real sort of mashup of personalities and people all thrown into a room, and obviously it's behind closed doors. There's no big fan that there's no stadium full of people cheering or room full of people cheering. I think it's a really interesting dynamic. Probably golf is one of the few others, where on those pro tour events where you can really sort of study other people almost. You can look for people with similar styles to you, look at what they're doing, look at the way that they are approaching and doing various different things. I think it's a really interesting thing about the pro tour.
Yeah, so you've got an opportunity to watch everyone. Like, no one's like locked away in their own little room or anything like that you can't like get to or watch. You can take everything in that you can, which is great. It helps people like me that are new to things. The Pro Tour is where you learn. You got to be there. If you're not winning every game easily, then you're there to learn.
Just looking at I feel perfect timing. I was just going to mention that question from George about your doll for this year, and also add to George's question there, Connor, around is that different to what it was in year one?
No. My goal for this year is still make the players and make the worlds. That was my goal for last year, was to make the players and the worlds, and I got off to a really good start, and then it just sort of got further and further away. But no, that's my goal for the year again. So hopefully I can do that. So I've had a few decent scouts now. Like, I know I can do it. It's just the consistency.
On what you said there about being your goal, did it hurt watching the Worlds over Christmas then, not being there?
A little bit, but as a darts fan, I didn't mind it too much. Because at the end of the day, I'm a darts fan. I enjoy watching that sort of stuff. And it was strange because I know like some of the people playing in it now, whereas before I didn't know any of them personally. And when you do, you almost watch it a bit more passionately, which is good. It's good fun, really. Like when you see your mates doing well and stuff like that, it's good.
You've just alluded to it there, and I think it's always interesting to know who are your closest or best mates on the tour at the moment, and who was you cheering on at the Worlds?
There's a few now, to be fair, because compared to when I first started, Matt Campbell, Jeff Smith, Darren Webster, Martin Lukeman, Richie Edhouse, George Killerton, Bunting. I practice a lot with when we're there. There's quite a few, like a bit of a social chameleon sometimes, but all those people, they're people that I message, say well done to and stuff like that, and they'll say it to me, and you can stand there and have a conversation with them. So I class them as sort of friends on tour.
Try not to forget anyone there, so you don't, so they don't pull you out next time. Mate.
There's a WhatsApp message coming in about 10 minutes, isn't there? Oh, where's my mention?
I'm also one of the smallest people on tour. I can't go around upsetting people.
I suppose, like looking at it, do you feel that if you can get to the World and get to Minehead, you can keep your card?
Yeah. I think the way my game's going at the minute, I've got a new bit of equipment I'm trying at the minute, and the first time I tried it was the last lot of Pro Tours. So I think I've cracked something which is nice.
Is that a nice feeling as a player, knowing that when you actually pick something up in your hand, it works?
Yeah, it stops me thinking, which is brilliant. That's always been my biggest thing. Where I've tinkered and tried so many different things, it's like, oh, maybe I should go back to doing that.
Don't upset Price.
in terms of the calendar as well. So I was just I was having a flick around while you were talking there, and then but looking at the qualification for the players, obviously that's that top 64 going in. Like at the minute, you're sat number 51, which I think is brilliant in terms of where the calendar is at the minute. What you're looking for, I suppose, is just consistency rather than having to claw back and fight from behind. Like the fact that you have come out quite early this year and got some points on the board, so to speak. You know, in terms of like where you are in terms of that green box on the rankings of looking at the worlds. Like it's not too far away at all, is it? In reality, it's just you're not clawing anything. You're where you need to be, isn't it? It's just getting consistent.
It's little and oftens, rather than turning up somewhere going, I've got to win this to try and stay in. That was what I had to do. I think it was the last Players' Championship last year, and I went on like a really good run. I beat Peter Wright, Whitlock, Gilding. I lost in the quarters to Schindler, and I knew full well. I said at the start of the day, I've got to win this today to get into any of the things I wanted to get into, and then missing the double against Schindler for getting to the semis. I was like, But this time it's nice to just keep. I'm sort of little and often. I've not had a weekend where I've blanked yet. Touch wood.
And that's the key, isn't it? I think coming out early and just getting points on the board, so to speak, early in the season, just take some of that pressure off. And you know, fingers crossed. Come later events in the year, like you haven't got that pressure with a bit of luck. You know, you're not going to have to go and win something to get where you need to be. It's just about ticking away, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, just chipping away little and often. It stops your brain from doing, like I was saying, the overthinking thing as well. You haven't got to think, right, I've got to make like 12 last 16s in a row to stand a chance. Just things like that. You just got to do little and often, little and often, little and often.
Speaking of tinkering, the ultimate tinker man, how are we doing, Pete? Hope you are good.
You and I was rubbish. It wasn't that bad.
To be fair,
the averages weren't that bad, were they?
No, I think our average near enough a ton.
To be fair, Pete's in obviously the chat room. Your dart is very similar to a version he threw in Leeds.
Yeah. It's very similar.
Little.
Everyone's got a set of darts that are similar to a set that Peter Wright's darts, because Peter Wright owns every set of darts as possible.
I had 80 sets not long ago, and I've gotten rid of a lot of them to stop myself from sort of cycling through them. I can imagine he's got a lot more.
I saw on Facebook you got them all up.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Just to get rid of them. It stops me going through them.
Are you there? Do you know? I was having a flick around. I quite like the black and gold. It's a very nice look. That I like them.
900. Yeah, the black and gold ones are very pretty. I do like them.
Yeah, they're a very nice looking dart, aren't they?
So it's a good one for you, Connor. What's the one thing about holding a tour card with Connor, the fan, that you didn't expect before?
Not an awful lot, to be fair. Maybe going to local competitions and things, because it used to just be, oh, Connor's here for a local competition and stuff, and now it's sort of like you get a bit of a target on your back.
Yeah.
But when, like, because we all have bad days and stuff, and we all have really good days. Like, if someone beats you, they get really, really happy now. Whereas before, when they beat me, it didn't really mean an awful lot.
Have you found similar to that though? Is that people work? So what I found up here is sometimes in equal measure where you get somebody with a card who comes to play a tournament. There's sometimes people think it's amazing. There's a scalp to be had, and others just think, oh, it's not fair. He's got a card. He shouldn't be in this tournament. Have you found a bit of that as well?
Yeah, one or two.
Yeah.
Not as many, but there's a couple.
Looking at the rest of the year, the Euro Tour is so key. And obviously, like you said, it's not gone your way on those Euro Tour qualifiers. There's still a few to shoot for. How important is it for you to get on those final couple?
The jump in prize money after every win is so big in comparison to a lot of other things that you need to be making the Euro Tours. You really do. Like, I mean, I qualified for number 10 like recently, and I've sort of think, well, I've missed out on another 9. It's sort of it's better late than never, but I wish I'd gotten into maybe like half of the ones that have already gone, because now I'm sitting at home like for like a month, not playing like really competitive things. I'm just like doing like a few leagues like around my area and competitions and things. So and sitting at home watching everyone else play the Euro Tours is a bit like, I wish I'd qualified for that.
Yeah, we recently spoke to Scott Mitchell, and obviously he lost his card in January, and he said, look, he only just lost it, but his biggest regret was not qualifying for a Euro Tour. He said that ultimately cost him his place on tour.
Did he never qualify for a single one?
No, well, year one there was very limited ones, and then in year two he didn't qualify for one.
That's surprising because Scott is so good.
Yeah,
he's absolutely quality.
Yeah. What's Peter saying? I get that argument.
Yeah. I agree. I don't understand how someone can qualify for it and be guaranteed their prize money on the Order of Merit, but if you're higher up in the world, you don't get it on the Order of Merit. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, looking at it, obviously your Live League and Super Series experience, when you look back, how much did that help, and how much did that get you ready for what the last 18 months has been like?
Massively, because it's playing the standard of player that you don't have the benefit of playing those people in local things, but they get brought all from around the country, the best players in the country and stuff that don't have cards are all at Live League. And it's some of the best practice you can get. Like you play, what was it, 5 games a day?
5, yeah.
Against a good standard of opponent, it was invaluable practice for me. So I had never like played an opponent of that standard like day in, day out. Because even on the Challenge Tour, you get your 1 or 2 like okay draws, and then you get a big boy. But like the Live League days, it's big boy after big boy after big boy. Sort of, it's almost a baptism of fire. But it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've mentioned a few times tonight and previously how big of a darts fan you are as well, like loving the World Championships, even not in it. Just now, as you are a professional, what are your thoughts on the Torrens amateur game? Obviously, since you've been a pro, we've had the ADC. I know Mad was there just before, but we've had the ADC now roll out. We've got the WDF and obviously all the stuff with the Live League. What's your thoughts on where the amateur game is right now as a fan?
I'd say that the amateur game is roughly where it is, but the semi-professional game is a lot bigger. It like does that make sense? Like the amateur game, I'd say is like your grassroots pub leagues. There's not that anymore. That they're few and far between these days. But the Motor Series and stuff like that, your semi-professional dart players, which I class because they're going away a lot of weekends and a lot of days during the week, so you'd say they're semi-professional. But that side of the game, to like breed the next sort of round of professionals, if you like, is so much better than what it ever has been, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's good. I don't know if you saw that Peter said, mate. There you go. Baby steps first, mini targets, big dreams come later.
Yeah, mate, you're right. Thanks for that, Peter.
Getting some advice from Peter there as well. Also, Connor has got a prize for us as well to give away, which is appreciated.
Give me 2 seconds, I'll grab it.
Yeah, he messaged me beforehand. Again, last chance to get your questions in for Connor before we let him go.
The only downfall for these competitions is T's and C's normally state that online dart members can't win them, so I'm not happy with whatever he's going to show now because I can't win it.
Right, if that's the case, I'm out. So
Dan, sorry, you're out.
Either that, or I'm going to have to get Anna, and I'm going to try text the missus, and she'll have to enter for me if I'm here.
Family members not included any prizes.
So I've got a really nice pair of socks.
Hey,
Christmas socks. There they
I've
are.
got my mission darts. Obviously, I'll sign them or whatever.
Oof. What a prize.
Yeah.
I will sort out with Connor and we will get them on social media to give them away for Connor coming on. One from George. How did the nickname come about?
Oh, that was my manager, Brian, who Peter knows very well, funny enough. Because But yeah, he gave me the nickname at a challenge tour years ago. So I had a few like very good finishes, like all in a row. I think it was like a 115, a 155, and a 145. Like some really like clutch finishes. And he said, "You're like a sniper. Like you just don't miss your shots." I was like, that's not bad. So he started calling me sniper, and it just sort of stuck. And Darren Webster didn't have it anymore, which was a bonus.
Yeah, I like that. He's the little demolition man, bless him. Connor, massive thanks for coming on, mate, and making your live lounge debut, mate. Massively appreciate it.
Anytime. I've really enjoyed it. It's nice talking to people about darts, really. People that are actually like fans as well.
Absolutely.
Good luck for the rest of the year, mate.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Absolutely. Everyone, Mr. Connor Scutt, thank you very much.
We will be watching you at the World Championships this year, Connor.
Yeah, I'll probably be in the crowd somewhere around the back.
See you for a pint.
Yeah. Right. Thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure, buddy. Thank you very much,
Cheers,
Mr. Connor Scutt, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Mr. Connor Scutt, great to have him on. I know it's real refreshing, isn't it? That he's like, that didn't go my way. However, these are the targets, these are the goals, and this is where I need to get to.
Yeah, and also it just shows how important a 2-year TARD is and why that's such a great system. Does it allow someone to sort of have the learnings from first year and then go and attack the second year? Yes, he had the targets of the Players' Championship and the World Championship, and we've seen some new tour TARD holders go and do that in year one. However, he's now got the experience and he's probably in a lot better position going into year two to go on and achieve those targets. And as he said, his game seems to be getting better. So there's opportunities, and well done on qualifying for Euro Tour 10.
Yeah, well, on that, he spoke about the Euro Tour being massive, and it was something Wayne said on Twitter that got me thinking that the way the Euro Tour is, I know people say they're the same thing, but that apart from they might be in the Pro Tour Order of Merit, but they are completely different things, the Pro Tour and the Euro Tour. They might be classed as the same and under the same banner, but they are completely different. Now, the way the Euro Tour has gone and the way the prize money has gone up, is the Pro Tour becoming kind of irrelevant. And what I mean by that is, you look at it, that you don't make any jumps in the rankings now for winning Pro Tours. The way the TV money is so high, we see very little movement in those rankings. The big guns, so to speak, that we see them, once they've got enough money that they're in the Players' Championship finals and they're not going to fall out the top 16, they don't care about them. Obviously, I know Peter's in the chat room. He's missed a lot to get himself ready for other things, that Michael Smith's barely played them, MVG's missed them. They just seem to be becoming irrelevant. It used to be a big thing to win a Pro Tour, and now I'm not sure it is. For the elite, it's not. Yes, if you're winning your first one, it's still going to mean something, but it's just lost a bit of gloss for me.
I tend to agree, and I'm not a fan of the way in which the Euro tours are structured in terms of the qualification, and I'm not a big fan of it. I sort of think that when you've got a tour card, and I know everyone has the opportunity to qualify for the Euro tours, and you can't just fly everybody out everywhere, and it's a different environment with the crowd and everything. But yeah, I sort of think I can't quite get on with the way it's formatted into the tour. And I think you're completely right, Phill, in that essentially the only time now somebody celebrates a Pro Tour win is either A, it's their first one, or it's someone who, let's be honest, like we never thought would win one. And we've seen, once or twice there's been someone that's completely took us by surprise. Or it's someone, like someone later in the year that's completely under the cosh and they're not going to qualify for the match play unless they win a Pro Tour event. And then they pull it off. Like that, that's when there's a story. Just the idea of someone winning a Pro Tour event, it doesn't have an impact, like you say, in the ratings and in the top 32. Anywhere in the top 32, it's doing nothing really too much to shuffle things around. And those Euro Tours are out. But I suppose the big peril is those when you don't qualify for a Euro Tour, like we've discussed, is it really hurts. Like it can really hurt players not qualifying for the Euro Tour. I'm not a big fan of the way that it's structured.
The only thing I would say about it is the Pro Tour is also important to people from probably about 33 down. If Connor would probably have told you the same in regards to how important the Pro Tours are, as the experiences he's got, not just playing. But also, what I would say is a lot of players and a couple of players I've spoke to around the weekends leading up to Euro Tour qualifiers and a Pro Tour or two Pro Tours, what's more important to that player? Is it qualifying for a Euro Tour or doing well on a Pro Tour? Then qualifiers are the most important part of that weekend.
100%. And I don't think
that's a worry that
Yeah.
Qualifying for a tournament is more important than being successful in another tournament. That's what I seem to find.
For me, like, and I know we talk about it a lot in terms of how the prize money works and whether you get money just for turning up and things. But like for me, the core important thing about being a professional PDC tour card holder should be that tour. Like, what's the, it's called a tour card because you're on the tour. Like that's what's important about it, and that's where for me you should be able to do your qualification for majors through there. And I just think the Euro Tour structure is like a curveball that doesn't quite fit in with everything else. It doesn't quite align with all the other order of merit systems that feed through the qualification for different majors. And like you said earlier, and I think you're completely right, you go to a 3-day event, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and the Monday's the qualifier. Monday's the important day. Everyone's trying to play themselves into a bit of form for Monday. It's not about winning the Pro Tour event. And I just think, as a bit of a purist, that's not why people should have a tour card.
Well, round of 16 on the Euro Tour gets the same money as a semi-final on the floor.
Yeah, that can't be right, can it?
And it's almost as if the Euro Tour is fabulous, and I agree with Dan. It is the best tour in the sport because what it does and the experience it gives players, and we call them mini majors. I think it was Michael Smith back in the day called it one first. It was like these have morphed into something I don't think they were expecting. It is the thing. Now we're getting 4,000 or 5,000 fans a session for some of these. With the greatest of respects, that's more than we get at some TV tournaments.
Well, this is my other argument, and it's not an argument. But what I can't understand is, I think that there are, and I might be wrong. You'd probably be able to tell me this, Phil. I think that there are 6 to 8 venues in the UK that you could host a mini major style tournament, exactly like a Euro Tour, but you could do an event in, Birmingham, Leeds, Cardiff, Glasgow,
Edinburgh.
Just pick 50% of your. Probably not. I'm not saying like Premier League venue. I'm not saying you want 10,000 people in there, but there are multiple places where you could get 4,000 people in, and you could do these mini majors over a couple of days. And like I think it's great. And what I think it would do is I think it would start to maybe level out the impact that these Euro Tours have on the Pro Tour, is if you could get some balance in some more UK-based events as well. They're great to watch. They're fantastic events. They're great to watch. I can't quite make my peace with how they sit with the structure of qualification and everything else.
Yeah, look, the Players' Championships have to have a place, but at the moment, like I said, they just seem irrelevant, that they're not cared about.
Agreed.
They're less important than what they should be.
Yeah, where that they used to mean something, and people made strides in the rankings by winning Pro Tours, where now you don't. And beforehand, we've seen people. I remember when Simon Whitlock got picked for the Premier League. I know this is going back and everything like that, and it's different now. But he was picked for the Premier League off of what he did on the floor, and Barry made that clear. It was like Simon has been picked because of his outstanding Pro Tour form, where we know that's out the window because Luke Humphreys got canned, even though he was 5th in the world and top of the Pro Tour Order of Merit. So we know it has no relevance on getting selected for invites anymore as well.
I also won a few Euro Tours as well, though. So that's,
the only thing is, for me, they've got a lot of doing something with the Pro Tours. I don't want this to be we're having a dig at the Euro Tours because the Euro Tours are fantastic.
No. I love them. I think they're amazing.
For me, they've got a lot at doing something with the Pro Tours to make them more
relevant.
Yeah, more relevant for the top 32, or for the players who play on the Premier League, play in the World Series. Yes, they need a break, but it's also timing that and making sure that you're not missing out on these, because even the players coming through, Tonna spoke about it there perfectly around watching the pros. Imagine if Michael Smith or someone just said, I don't need to do Pro Tours for a year or two. Someone like Tonna wouldn't have got the opportunity to potentially play on. And they're taught hard holder, back to Dan's point around having that. So they still need to be important. They still need to be relevant, but there's got to be more work done to make that happen. And I don't know if that's changing how they work at the moment to have more in a sort of a series. I used to love the summer series where they had 4 or 5 in sort of a run. I think you're less likely to have players drop out if you do it that sort of way than having the 1 and 2 here and there. And also that would be better toss-wise for the players who are financially looking after themselves, or I would like to see a return to those, and some sort of benefit from those, because I think they would work then.
But the problem is because of the way the Premier League is formatted, you couldn't have them in the beginning of the year, because you couldn't have a block of 4 or 5 plus a Euro Tour qualifier and the Premier League. It's impossible.
Yeah. But I think that would get a good response to bring back these. So I know why they was in place before. It made sense with COVID and all the regulations that were in place for that. But I think there was such a success that you would use it. And I can't remember who it was. I saw the comments from Rob. Part of it is to do with the money. He's put the waiting for the rantings is off. We speak about that very often with the World Championships, but it's very much the same with the Pro Tour and Euro Tour. There's too much of a difference between those two.
Oh, completely. The whole thing is just skew with at the moment. And look, I know Jamie said it there. Would streaming not help the Pro Tours? I don't know. Why don't make the Pro Tours like the UK Open and stream them all? I think next year we will see more stream action from the Pro Tour. I don't think we'll ever see every board streamed, but I think that we will see more going forward. I think
Matt Porter sort of committed. I remember the interviewer being particularly talented in that interview. There was he did talk, didn't he? I think to you, Phill, about how it had worked down in my head and what, but also there are some limitations, and there's other sides to that as well in terms of putting streaming in all those Pro Tour boards. And I still think that we're a long way from having all the games streamed. Nor do I think it would have any real effect on moving the Pro Tour forward. Just streaming every match, I don't think is the answer.
That's the other issue, and Johnny's said it there, that unfortunately it's the other events that do prop up the Pro Tour money, like your Premier Leagues and things like that.
Yeah, and in terms of streaming, so like my gut instinct is that if you said, right, so let's say like round figures, because it's easy to do the maths, like let's say there's 10,000 people watching PDC TV and they're watching the Pro Tour stream boards. If all of a sudden you make every game streamed, you wouldn't all of a sudden have 20,000 people tuning in. You just have the same 10,000 people all watching different games. Yeah. Like you wouldn't get. I genuinely. You might get an extra few hundred people. You might get a slight few more people, few more family and friends of players who knew they were on a stream would tune in and watch if they were on there. But I don't think it would have a dramatic impact in viewership. Therefore, doesn't have a dramatic impact in revenue or advertising or sponsorship or anything else. Therefore, doesn't move it forward. I just think it doesn't advance in the way that we want it to.
No, I agree, and that we've said this many a time. That at the moment, the pieces of the jigsaw don't add up, and they don't align at the moment. As things have got bigger, like the Euro Tour, like we said, there used to be a few events a year. Now there's 13 with 30 grand for the winner for each of them. And we saw Luke Humphries win, was it 4 last year, at 25 grand a pop or whatever it was. So there's 100 grand straight away. It is the thing. It's just things don't add up, and I just think that we're almost at a time where it needs a reset to align everything again. Yeah,
I don't disagree. It just goes back to me it's the money's the concern, not the money in the game, the money how it's split. The Premier League is so important to the PDC. We know this, and it's a great way to talk about it without Dob being on it as it's laid it off. But we all know the Premier League is great for the PDC in regards to income, the impact it has. But what it can't do is have a negative effect on the other 120 players. And
it does. Like we ought to know because what happens is we talk about like 5 or 6 ways in which the Pro Tour could be made better. And what happens is after each one, someone goes, but yeah, the Premier League though, and oh yeah, but we can't do that because the Premier League. And it's a real challenge for the PDC. Organisationally, at the highest level, I think it's one of the biggest challenges they face at the minute is how important the Premier League is, but making it balance and fit with everything else in that first third of the year.
But the flip of that is the Premier League has an impact on the calendar for the other 120 players. However, the Premier League funds what the other players win on Pro Tour. So there is the flip side of that how important it is, and that's why the income's so important. Like I said, I would love to see the sort of a series event at a couple of stages throughout the year. I think they would be good to bring them back, but when you do it, is another complete headache for the only sort of windows I can think is sort of your pre-Masters sort of time, but they've already filled them with World Series events. Just post Q-Stall, pre-Masters. Yeah. I think there's a window there where they have a Challenge Tour weekend. There's an opportunity.
I disagreed with the World Series being in January anyway. That little block
was absurd.
That little block was the only chance the players genuinely had to get away and fuck off and not throw a dart and just go and spend some time with the family and do absolutely nothing. So for me, the World's finishes. The season starts at the Masters.
And darts is 12 months a year as a sport. There isn't an off season. There isn't and that is if we're honest, that is the closest thing to an off season that the top players get, isn't it? Is that little spell after the Worlds, there's a bit of a lull, and then you can sort of reset, recharge, and come back again. I just thought it was a mad idea to try and do something in the middle.
The only other window I could think where that would be a possibility, obviously not this year, but if you had a 4 or 5 Pro Tour event series, 2 or 3 weeks before the match players are race to the match play, I think that would be great because it's you'll have all the players want to play in it who are at the top of the game who've already qualified to get into form, and you've also got a huge race, and everyone has still got an opportunity then to qualify. So if you've got 5 events, anything can happen in those 5 events, and it would probably enhance the quality of match play.
Bob, they're not completely different, mate. Yes, there is a Pro Tour Order of Merit, but all the money that you win on a Pro Tour or Euro Tour goes on your Order of Merit as well. So although there is a Pro Tour Order of Merit, that money still goes on your main Order of Merit as well.
Yeah.
So it's not completely different. They do affect each other. So speaking of that, there was a Euro Tour this weekend, boys, and it was the Dutch Darts Championship. I'm just going to share my other screen. 2 seconds. And there we have it. I will try and move this in here and scroll through so we can see it. Look, first of all, we'll address it. We're not shy about things like this. We've absolutely hammered the German fans before. When the Dutch boys were playing, I know they don't get it very often, but it still doesn't make it right. The crowd were just horrific when the Dutch lads were playing.
I don't think there's much more to say on the matter other than
I think if I was to reiterate it anymore, I'd probably swear enough to get us in bother on YouTube. So
no, that's fine. Danny Dobbs replacement. You've not swore enough. If anything.
Oh yeah, but by now, God's been effing and jeffing for fun by now.
Good. They were a complete pack of cunts.
It was horrific, and we've hammered the German boys for doing it, so we're not going to shy away. So, first of all, we're not going to go through every game because we'll be here all day. I want to talk about Damon Hetter's walk-on.
I mean, the only saving grace, like, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, when, you were as old as me, Phil. So you know, like when you were a kid and no one had white football boots, and if you wore white football boots, you better play well. Otherwise, you'll just look a tosser. Like, it's one of those where when
he started swearing.
Yes. But, you know, like when he does that, you just think, oh, Damon, like, you're going to have to do something now. Now, lo and behold, he did, you know, he put a performance in this time. Like, not last time when the skiing, it was a bit of a shambles. But I tell you why I'm not a fan of it is because I don't believe it. Like when Dirk van Dijvenbode comes out and he's thrashing around to his music and dancing, and various other people are doing different bits, even to a degree, Dimitri van den Bergen is sort of odd, sort of little body popping. I sort of believe it in that I believe that's who they are and that's what they want to be doing. I don't believe it with Damon Hetter, and I don't buy into it, and it looks a bit cringy.
I don't mind it. I know what you're saying, Dan. It's.
I don't mind him doing it.
Like it's back to the. Yeah, it's back to the sort of Ross Smith throwing shirts. It's what you expect someone. It's what you expect someone to do a month before the Premier League picks to try and class themselves as entertaining.
I feel like he's pretending. Yeah, I feel like he's pretending. I just want him to be himself. I think he's a nice fella. And he plays good darts. So I just want him to do that.
It feels like all the Premier League hopefuls are looking at it thinking, okay, I need to do something different to stand out. And like we say, we saw Ross Smith at the Masters literally bounce down the walk-on, pick a load of shirts up and chuck them out to the crowd. We've seen Damon Hetter do this. It just feels like they're going for, I need to do something different to get picked for these big events.
Right now, though, I'm not opposed to it for Damon Hetter, and not for that purpose, really. But his tour and TV form isn't great. I'll class Euro Tour as TV form, but it's not where it was. But his floor game is still very good. And I know we spoke about it when he come on a month or two back. And it's just one of those where I just think it might be something that he's trying to stay reaction out himself. It might be something that's to release a bit of anxiety when you first go up onto the stage. It could be for a number of reasons. Like I said, I'm not opposed to it. The Whartons that are always the same probably are a little bit. I prefer seeing something a bit different. Not always someone falling over on the backside, but Hetter's. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's all right.
I'm just not sold.
What'll be interesting for on it is if we are still seeing it at a match play, yeah, at a match play or at a World Championships or.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'd be more bought into it if I heard through like the rumor. You know, if Conor had told us earlier, they're actually started doing it behind closed doors at the Pro Tour. Like that's how he comes. That's just how he wanders up and down in Barnsley now. That's how he behaves. Like I'd sort of believe it a bit. I think, oh yeah, I'll buy into it. But if he doesn't upkeep it though, I just think he's going to look a bit daft because it'll just look like a sort of, I don't know. It's the wrong time of year as well. I find it a bit awkward.
I just want to see him at Blackpool walk on with beach balls and buckets and spades.
Bright water. It'll be one of the brightest. Wearing the Blackpool glasses as well.
I mean, if he sticks with it, like throwing sticks of rock out into the crowd, then maybe. But
doesn't that break health and safety though? You can't get away with it these days.
Yeah, it's heavy. Some of that rock in it, big stuff.
I've got a pair of the Blackpool glasses as well. I might bring them along for him if he'll wear them. I'll happily add to his attire of darting Wartons.
I'm sure he'll have a shirt he can borrow, boys.
I don't know what you mean, Dan. Don't know what you mean.
There's
no sponsors on mine.
There was another catastrophic walk-on that may have an impact further than that because Dirk van Dijvenbode was absolutely giving it the big uns, like he always does, and he stumbled back, and by the look of it, he's done himself some damage. He was going for an MRI today.
Yeah, I'm laughing at the moment. Not at obviously, hopefully, there's no real serious concern from an injury. But the clip, I don't know how many views it's got, but I've probably got half of them myself. It's because it's just how it happens. I couldn't work out if he'd tripped on the hottie or what. Like it took me about 10 or 15 times to see how he'd done it. It was just from the landing.
Yeah, he's just jumping up and his leg just went from under him.
There's no getting away from it. It's piss funny. And if it happened to someone else, I'm sure that he'd find it piss funny as well. It's just one of those things, isn't it? There's few things in life that are a certainty, but people falling over is inherently funny. It'll always be funny no matter what it is. So it's like, you don't want, fingers crossed. You don't want anything to have impacted his game, and you don't want him injured in any way. But people falling over is piss funny, isn't it?
Not just falling over while everyone in that crowd is staring at you. It's not as if you've done it and there's a smashed glass behind the bar sort of moment. And
and falling over because staring about the prick as well. Like, if he just walked to the stage, started having through at the board, like, you're all right, aren't you?
The thing is, a lot of them fans would have been, I can't wait to go. I know Phill hates it, but I like it. I can't wait to go. I'm looking forward to seeing Dirt's Warton. It's a moment that you're gonna. There's so many people with phones out watching it coming on, and then you have that moment at the end of it.
Well, maybe this will teach him. Maybe that that walk on will go, and we'll see him coming out from now on. Just to you raise me up. It'll be something nice, calm, peaceful. Just walk on. Nice, chilled bit of Westlife. Take to the stage. No risk of falling over or injury.
Dan, do you know what we're talking about here? That is no chance of happening. Not tatting else chance.
The other talking point, Gary Anderson returned to the Euro Tour. Didn't go according to plan. I actually think that Gary felt the nerves a little bit. After a 7-year hiatus.
I honestly, I mean, you know the man far better than I do. I can't imagine Gary in any way as a nervous man. But yeah, 87 average, only won 180, like just not great. He sort of went out with a whimper a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, he used to get really nervous, and I genuinely think he felt the nerves coming back.
I do as well. I was very surprised the manner of the performance. In losing, not massively, I guess. Does anyone tend to have that, especially on the Euro Tour? But the manner of the loss and the manner of the performance, how well Gary's playing. And I think it was down to nerves. I think, there was an element of nerves that we're not normally used to seeing with Gary.
Do you think, though, Phill, that might like that might not be a terrible thing to have happened, and it might light a bit of a fire, because there is nothing better, in my opinion, in darts than sort of an angry Gary Anderson, and do you think that may have frustrated him into wanting to do some more damage on a Euro tour?
Well, if you're getting nervous, it shows you still care.
That's it. That's what I mean. Like, and he sometimes he just needs to be like thrashed into playing, doesn't he? Like he needs to get up for it.
Yeah, I think it shows. It shows that he cares. Where else was I looking for? There we have it. We'll talk about him more in a minute. But what an effort from Jean Van Veen as well. He loses 6-5 in the opening round, plays really well, and then literally straight on a plane to the UK for the Dev Tour.
Yeah, that's shit, isn't it?
Not just straight on the plane, the manner of performance as well the following day.
We'll touch on that in a minute, but yeah, he absolutely smashed it up. But on the Euro Tour, Dave Chisnall wins his second Euro Tour of the year, and look, Chizzy, we know he's got it in the locker, but I just don't think we see it enough.
I'm down big. There's a TV win for Dave Chisnall this year.
I'm still not convinced there is.
The performance against Josh Rock was unreal. Like I thoroughly enjoyed that. I got quite excited for that game. Obviously the way Josh has been playing, and we know the game that Josh has got. And Chizzy, like obviously he played himself into some form, and I was genuinely excited. And for want of a better word, Chizzy completely blew Josh Rock away. He couldn't get close to him.
Oh,
just smashed it around. It was unreal.
That's not a debate. That we know it's there, but I just think that we're going to be talking about Dave Chisnall in 6-7 years' time, thinking, how has he never won one?
There's one coming. I believe it. I do honestly believe it.
Yeah, you look at now, certainly in the last few years, and when you look at the list of players that have won TV titles, there are far worse players than Dave Chisnall that have won TV titles, aren't there? And it just seems to be getting further and further and further down the line that it's got to happen soon, hasn't it? You fear for Dave.
Oh yeah, the longer it goes on. I know we had this conversation about Michael Smith 12 months ago, and we was probably having it near enough every week. The level that Chizzy has, the level that Chizzy's performed over the past however many years, he's underperformed on TV to not pick up a title, because, like you said, there's people who have done on and picked up titles who are not to the same level as what Dave Chisnall is. The win this weekend was great. You mentioned the Josh Rock, but I think there's one coming. I really do think that there will be a point this year where he'll pick up a TV title.
Time will tell.
I know you'll disagree with me there, aren't you, Phil?
Yeah,
Where do you reckon, Lee? If you had to pick one, if I put the pressure on you and said, right, there's a TV title coming, but which one is it?
Weirdly, he wins the Grand Prix. Always seems to do well there. He always seems to do well there. And if there's one he's going to get over the line, I think it's that one.
I think if he wins one, it will be an ITV one where he's just in hot form on the final day.
See, I was going to say the one, if someone said to me, Chisnall wins the title this year, which one is it? I would have said Players.
Yeah.
It'd have been Players at mine end.
Players, all the Europeans, because it's the same kind of thing.
I know it goes into next year, but could he be the first person to win the Masters and then not be in the Prem? Have that fortunate manner of winning his first TV title.
I think that Chizzy, I don't know, what do you reckon? I think if he wins the Masters next year, Chizzy's in. Chizzy gets the Premier League spot.
By then, we'll know the Premier League will be announced after the Worlds again this year.
Exactly.
How are we doing, Will? Hope you are good.
Andrew Gilding's debut in the Premier League next year. Looking forward to that.
Also looking forward to Santa Claus playing at the Worlds.
Yeah, there's more chance of Chizzy being in the Premier League right now than what there is of Dill doing.
Well, the day that he won, I called that I had more chance than him, and I still stand by that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I still think if you went to Coral, you get better odds for him than you would for me playing the Premier League next year.
Yeah, completely.
He'd stand more chance of playing the Barclays Premier League than he was in the PDC Premier League.
The Dev Tour as well. Luke Littler still leads the way, but all eyes were on one man this weekend, and it was Jean Van Veen. Just outstanding from Jean Van Veen.
Yeah, like I know we touched on it briefly, but the travel and the impact, we've seen it a few times, and we talked about it quite a lot with travel. And I know it's not as far, but we talked about it with like Matura on the women's tour and the preparation for that. Like says, it's not as far from Holland to England, but to do that the following day after playing on the Euro tour, it's a completely different environment. Back to behind closed doors, and then to go on and pick up a title. Just shows what a talent this man is.
I just think the standard's off the scale this year. I know we've seen unbelievable talent come through the Dev Tour, but I just think when you start to reel off names that are in the top 20 of the Dev Tour this year, and you look at the collective potential, I just think it's amazing. Like, I think it's genuinely amazing. It properly excites me about the next 5, 6, 7 years of darts, is thinking, where some of those players could end up. Not just because of how good they are at darts, but also because of the kind of people they are as well. Like, there's some good lads in there, some really good lads. And I think it's a very nice thing and makes me feel a bit secure about the future of the sport.
Well, you look at it, that obviously that we know what a talent Luke Littler is, but Jean Van Veen winning titles, Wessel Nyman coming back picking up a title, Bradley Rose picking up a title. Dutch darts is in a good place with these youngsters.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's a lot of names that we're talking about more frequently, and like you mentioned there, Luke Littler, he's Dudley Light and Bennett back in the final. There's just a lot of. I'm with Dan. Dutch darts in a great place, but darts generally from a development place is in a fantastic position.
Players
Thomas Ponce as well, another name who's got to a final this weekend. There's a lot of huge talents, and it's great to see that we are seeing such a variation of winners. Yes, Luke Littler's done fantastic, and Josh Rott's done very well when he was on it previous year, but he can't play anymore, as we know, being in the top 32. It's just a great place, this is sporting for young talent.
Genuinely is. I mean, players in there, as I say, even when you come, you don't have to go to the top, Bielecki's he so vast amounts of potential. I know Slevin's got a camera. Dylan Slevin looks like an amazing player from everything we've seen of him. Owen Bates looks amazing. Like, I still can't believe that Rusty J, is in that mix as well, because we've seen so much from him in different places and different stuff. But yeah, I just think it's tremendously exciting. Really.
It was. Bielecki won it. Rose got to the final, but yeah, look, we've seen Sebastian get to the UK Open quarter final. Like, Bradley Rose was won at the Lakeside, won the youth events at the Lakeside, the JDC. It is just absolutely stacked, and I stand by what I say. I'm sorry, Jean. The Dev Tour is that good now. Tour card holders don't need to be there.
Yeah, debate we've had plenty of times, and it's something that we all seem to agree on. And I think a lot of the darting sort of world do agree on. If you were a professional, you can't then play in the youth or development as it is. I don't think so. World Championship's different, but the Dev Tour itself should be able.
Also, Darryl Pilgrim booked his week at Champions Week at the Moded Super Series. Week 12 on Saturday night. Edged out Con Osborne in the final.
Cracking week this week.
Today was, obviously, I was lucky to do comms on today. Unreal standard today.
Yeah, some of the matches I thought this week, I didn't see all of it. Jim McEwen was really good. I thought Matt Edgar looked brilliant at times. Matt Edgar looked like close to his best in time. Some of his finishing was unreal.
We've got an extended interview with Matt Edgar coming out tomorrow. Anyone would think that was prepped, but well done, Dan. Yeah, extended.
I'm not even wearing my Edgar TV t-shirt either. I could have gone full prep, couldn't I?
Yeah. Got a good 40-minute chat with Matt coming out tomorrow.
Obviously, one thing we did miss, Mr. Bars, is Mason on Euro Tours. I'm all for that.
Yeah,
all for that.
Mace was just like, look.
I know it might mean for darting fans we have to listen to you on a Monday morning as well as a Monday night.
Well, yeah, there is that.
But I thought Mason Mason was doing Mason things, was great on.
Yeah, look, Mason, an elite broadcaster.
Yeah.
And he was just sensational alongside Murph and Dan Dawson on the Euro Tour, and I hope we hear it many times to come as well.
It's not a bad trio, is it?
No,
I won't say the best and Slad Webby off, but it's not a bad trio.
Look, there was the Asian tour. I must admit, I didn't see any of it over the weekend. What with everything else going on, just couldn't keep up with everything, so didn't see any of the Asian tour. What else have we missed in a week in darts?
Right. Jack Darwood, he's done it. Absolutely love me for this. World Seniors Darts Championship tickets have gone on sale.
Yes, they have. Tickets for next year's Circus Tavern event are on sale as we speak. Dartshop.tv. All the packages are available for the Seniors World Championships. Can Robert Thornton make it 3 on the spin at the Tavern? Book your tickets to find out.
And I'm happy to, as one of the members of the team that isn't in any way interlinked and involved in the World Seniors other than as a fan, it is the best, genuinely, and I mean this, it is the best event darts-wise I have attended for years. It is I enjoyed being at that event far more than any other event. I cannot recommend, if people enjoy darts and they want to watch darts live, go to watch the Seniors. It is the best environment in which to watch darts live in Britain, in my opinion. It's mint. Amazing.
You know that Dobbs and a clip that and we'll get that out to sell tickets.
Mate, I'm happy helping wherever I can, mate. Honestly, it's unreal. It's the best. I'm dead excited. The only thing I'm gutted about is like Yeovil. I can fly to Spain easier than I can get to Yeovil. Like, it's easier. Genuinely. Not only that, but even driving the car that I drive, I think I can get like to Holland, to Amsterdam and back far quicker and cheaper than I can drive to Paris. Like easier than I can drive to Yeovil. It's a nightmare. So it's going to be York for me, September. Tickets are on sale for that as well. Seniors are in York in September. And it's the best way to watch darts in the country, bar none.
Promo's done. No, look, so yeah, we'll open the chat room for question time as well. But plenty coming up as well. Another Euro Tour this week, boys. Champions Week at the Super Series, like we say, kicked off today. Premier League Manchester this week. It's always busy, isn't it?
Yeah, this time of year, it's difficult, but my focus tends to just start looking towards Blackpool because we're getting that sort of time where everything's leading towards, which is like, is the halfway point of the season when you've got Blackpool, the race comes closer. That to one side, we've got the World Cup, which is going to be the best World Cup we've ever had in darts, coming up as well this year. It's all pairs.
I'm looking forward to that.
There's that to look forward to, and that's still a couple of months away, or just over a month away for those two tournaments. And there's a lot to happen. Like it says, Champions Week this week. We've got an awful lot of Euro Tours to cover off in the next 2 months, I think, like I said, before that little break, before the second half of the year. So a lot to happen. Seniors events. I don't need to plug that anymore because Dan's done all that. But there's just so much happening in the next couple of months. Is it still another 2 months, Phil, before we have a weekend of no PDC action?
I don't think there's nothing till July. There's not a 3 weekend until July, I don't think.
And that's just PDC.
Yeah, let alone everything else. Obviously, the CDC, the Super Series, the seniors. It's just all go, go, go. This is a.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's double-ended from two people. I should have a look at the rankings a second.
Do you know what? It could change, it's not set.
Yeah, like Luke getting to the final was huge at the weekend.
It's like 12 grand, isn't it? 11
12
grand?
12 grand in it.
And when how long have we got? Or what have we got between now and then? What's on between now and the cut-off? Because there's not loads, is there?
Wait a minute.
And also, it's different because the format's different as well. So you're sort of looking for different things. You're not looking for big individual performances, are you? You're looking for a bit of a relationship, a bit of a click between the team.
Right, so I think we've got Euro Tour this weekend. Euro Tour in Prague. 2 Players' Championships. Another Euro Tour. And surely there's a Players' Championship right before the World Cup.
There's 12 grand in that, isn't there?
That's too late.
It was on. I'm sure it was on the statement, Phil, that it was the cut-off was the 30th of May. I want to say.
So that'll be the Euro Tour in Sindelfingen is the cut-off.
Yes, because the Players' Championships are too late.
Yeah.
2 days before.
So yes, in terms of that, the fact there's 3 Euro Tours, 12 grand is nothing.
Yeah, there's definitely chance. It could be, and there's a few teams that could move actually, not just England.
Going back to the point, and this isn't anything against Rob Cross because Rob Cross is a fabulous player, but in terms of stylistic, because this is what it is now, that you have to gel as a pair. I just think that Smith and Humphreys are stylistically a better pairing for England.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I completely agree. That's why I mentioned it there, because the format's different. You don't need a big individual performer like a Rob Cross. You need someone who can play doubles with Michael Smith. That's what you need.
Yeah,
you need someone who can play doubles with him.
I just think styles are going to make this, and I just think that Humphreys and Smith are a better pairing together because of the way they play.
Definitely, 100%.
One thing we did miss, there was WDF action in Denmark that Andy Bartons beat Neil Duff in the final of the men's, and Noelin van Leuven won the women's.
Was
Denmark
that gold,
Open.
silver, bronze, dishwater, tea towel, or what was it? Because there's so many.
That was a gold event, which means that the winners have secured a place in the late side in 200 months. No, in a year and a half. In 2024. So them two have confirmed.
Oh, man.
2024.
All I'm saying is that's ambitious.
It's hard work, isn't it, to even make your brain try and work that out.
They have massively overcomplicated all of the situation at the moment. So is there too many TV competitions? For me, no, but I think they need to be spread out a little bit better. Or
See, when you say that, is there too much darts on telly? Well, absolutely, of course not. But you're right. Is that sometimes there's ways in which of spreading them out and showing them at better times of the year and spacing the calendar out more for the players, isn't there?
Yeah. But yeah, can never be too much. Matt, yeah, we're going to sort that out this week, mate. We got a little bit sidetracked. What do you think of the new World Cup sponsor, My Diesel claim? Don't care, Bob. To be brutally honest, it's like they've paid the most money, so they've got it. It's the same in any sport, that whoever pays the most money gets them.
It's genuinely prompted me to think. I'm convinced that I owned about 9 different diesel cars during that window of time, and I could be sat on a claim somewhere near winning the Darts Premier League. I don't know. I need to go and look into that.
You're funding the World Cup, mate.
Yeah,
it made me laugh when the PDC went with Kazoo, and everyone was going, "Oh, the PDC are getting rid of the bookmakers. This is brilliant." Blah 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 blah. It's like they only took Kazoo because they offered the most money. If William Hill offered more money than Kazoo, William Hill would still have the world championship.
Without a shadow, yeah, it's not ethical.
Don't worry about that. It wasn't an ethical thing or anything like that. It was who paid the most money.
Yeah. And that's why when I win the Euro Millions, you'll all be tuning in to the Dan Simpson World Championship. Because just for shits and giggles, you'd sponsor it, wouldn't you? Like, why not?
Oh, 100%.
I'd have a year where I just, if I won the Euro Millions, I'd just sponsor everything.
That best be the Dan Simpson Seniors World Championship you're on about. Or do you want them all? Every World Championship that's going.
Them all, yeah.
Just think, right? You win 120 odd million or whatever it is on the Euro Millions or whatever. I would deliberately sponsor the PDC World Championships just to fuck everyone off that's given me shit over the years, that my branding's going to be all over your stuff for the next month.
I'd have like just smiley pictures of my face like that.
You would though, wouldn't you? Just with that kind of money, you just do it just to annoy people.
Correct, yeah, absolutely. Just to troll everyone, yeah.
How would you improve the World Series event?
Different players. A fairer rotation.
For me, I don't think they need improving. I think again, it's a bit like you can spend your life driving yourself insane talking about selection for the Premier League and everything else. And there's a time where you just have to accept that, you know what, it's just an exhibition and Sky pay for it and it funds loads of other stuff, so you have to accept it. They are exhibitions that someone pays a shitload of money for, and it funds loads of other stuff, and it means loads of other people can have a darts career. You've just got to accept it. It is what it is. You won't like the selections. You won't like that it doesn't come near your house, but it is what it is.
But you still watch it.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting, isn't it?
I just think that the World Championship, well numbered, probably top 4 are you picked, but there's got to be a better rotation of players. What I don't want to see with World Series events, and which is one of my biggest bugbears, is I don't want to see the World Series event just looking like another Premier League night. That's the issue with it.
I get it, but unfortunately, they're the ones with commercial value.
But Phil, the problem is we've definitely got more than 8 players who are commercially viable. I'm not saying we need everyone on the tour on there, but even if it was a rotation of 15 players, but the top 4 was still there.
And they've all had a go, haven't they? Because, like, I know, if someone says to me, right, Dan, you need to book a exhibition at somewhere, like who you're having, well, I just rattle through. I'd go, well, I'm having MVG, and I'm having Peter Wright, and I'm having Michael Smith, and then I'm having Fallon Sherrock, and I'm having because I just know that they're all the people everybody wants to see. I'd have Barney up there, because it's an exhibition, and I think people just have to accept that playing on a World Series event or in a World Series event is absolutely, completely nothing to do with what you've achieved in darts, what you've qualified for, what you are, where you are in the Pro Tour Order of Merit, what form you're in. It's purely and simply about whether people think someone will buy a ticket to come and watch you play darts, and that is it. Or whether they would read the news article about you playing darts, and I just think, well, don't upset yourself over it. Like, it is what. Just accept that someone's running an exhibition. Fine. And for me, it's the same as someone ranting and raving, going, "There's an exhibition on in Stoke, and they've got Phill Taylor playing Fallon Sherrock, and it's absurd. Why is she allowed to play him?" Well, it's an exhibition, isn't it? Don't get worried about it.
I'm with you.
Don't get upset.
I don't get upset. I just want to see a variation. And we've got more than 8 players that are viable to sell an event. If we haven't, the sport's in a dangerous place. We know we have.
To be fair, boys, I forgot. We'll just rattle through this quickly because no one really cares. Manchester, AO Arena. I just want one-word answers for you because everyone's bored of the Premier League. Right or Clayton?
Clayton.
Clayton. Dobie or Vandenberg?
Dobie.
Jimmy.
Dobie. Smith or Aspinall?
Smith.
Smith. Price Van Gerwen?
Price.
Van Derwin.
Price. Winner and runner-up from your selections?
Van Derwin beats Clayton in the final. Returns to winning ways.
Price beats Dobie in the final.
Johnny Clayton beats Michael Smith in the final and throws the cat amongst the pigeons.
Ooh.
Why is it we've just returned to the Premier League and then Dobbs returned in the chat room? It's like a time
Yeah, been in there, 100%.
Another toilet break for Dobb.
He is somewhere, sat in a gents' toilet somewhere.
Just going to the loo, love, all right? How you getting on, boys? Are you missing me?
There's a bloke knocking on the cubicle door, absolutely busting, doing a little dance, waiting for Cobb to...
Cobb's like...
One earphone in, listening in.
Cobb's going, come on, I'm waiting to see who Dan picks for...
mate.
I think it's going to be Dobie again. Just wait there.
That was the Premier League sorted. There was a couple about, do we know about Corey Cadby's visa issues? He dropped a very cryptic message on social media last week, and then he's not posted since. All we got is "I'm back" or along those lines. So I don't know. I'm interested to see the next entry list for the Pro Tours to see if he's on it.
I think it'd be mega to see him on. Like everyone's got their view. For me, it's just that. I think it's just frustrating. Like genuinely frustrating that, regardless of all the other bits and bobs of politics, the lad's won a Pro Tour and hasn't been able to play. And I just think it's a massive handicap. That we talked earlier about with Connor about getting out early and in the season picking up points, getting something on, and everyone can point the finger and talk about why he needs a particular visa and why it's been complicated. But the lad's won a tour card and he hasn't been able to play professional darts. So I just think the sooner he's allowed to do that, the better.
Big Johnny's going international next week.
That's
like
fine.
that.
Phil, while we're on question time, you did star one as well.
Yeah, I did. I'll come back to that in a second. But what was the other one I was looking at? There may be a few coming up in the summer. That's all I'm saying. There we go. He won't be around, but I thought it was a good one. I'd be up for the chest cams, but I just think it may be restrictive because it's obviously going to have to go round into a harness type thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'd like it, but I'm not sure.
I think it's a real challenge because I completely agree. I think once you strap it onto someone, you've really restricted just the feeling that they've got, the looseness of their shirt, even just in the way that they're throwing. And then you've got the other options you've got are putting things. GoPros and things like that. Putting things on people's heads, but you can't do any of that. We have seen Sky. At the World Championship, Sky got a little bit experimental, didn't they, with camera angles, and we saw some really interesting angles. I thought from behind the dart player. For me, I'm not sure it's too practical to start sticking GoPros on. Also, where I think it causes a challenge is the live nature of it. I think it's all right if you're shooting something on a GoPro. If you then want to get home and edit it and do bits and pieces like that, for me, there's too much like you can't do that live. You're relying on too much sort of wireless technology and things not falling off and other bits and pieces. I'd rather see the big broadcasters, Sky probably primarily, looking at more creative and interesting ways of capturing footage.
Well, you mentioned that about editing. Why not do it for the World Series then? Not hardly that's ever live. You could clip that afterwards. I know you did it on PDC TV, but if it was on ITV4 at 6 o'clock in the morning, you could have to play
for anything that doesn't matter, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
For anything that doesn't matter, World Series.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's an exhibition, isn't it? But anything but again, I think it's a novelty. Like, I think it is a novelty. You know, I think there are players in the game that if you ask them would they fancy doing it, would say yes. But again, they'd more want to do it for their own channels. You know that. You know the great example is Foster, as a keeper who stuck his GoPro in the goal, didn't he? And built a huge YouTube channel. Now, but he wouldn't want to do it for a broadcaster, like, because that's his. Where if you spoke to someone, and the person that springs to mind straight away is Matt Edgar. As to that'd be interesting. I'd be really interested to get his view on it, because I think Matt's got a really good grasp on what creates good content, what people want to see, what would bring eyes to his channel and build up that other revenue stream that he's got. And then balancing that against the physical hindrance of having a camera strapped to him while he plays darts. That's like, I don't know if you can, I'm sure you could ask that question at some point, Phill, but I'd say that Matt's probably our best source of info on that.
Yeah, and look, you talk about different angles. Keytan, who do all the Euro Tour stuff, are unreal. Some of the angles that they've created, I know Robert, who directs everything and owns Keytan, some of the stuff that they put together on the Euro Tour is genuinely incredible. Some of the angles we get.
Yeah, no, I think this would be another step forward or another way to watch darts, which is always great. And there's enough people out there who are a lot better equipped than what the three of us are in regards to getting that out and getting that in place. But I'd love to see in an event, obviously in a less meaningful event, if I can say that, would obviously be the first stance.
Not the seniors, then.
Not the seniors.
From what we've seen so far this year, who will win the most TV titles this year? If you're asking me right now, I think it's a very easy question.
Yeah. For me, there's only one name that I can say out loud.
Is he Welsh?
He is Welsh, yeah. Used to play rugby. Are you shaking your head? What do you not think?
No, I still think it's just a little blip in the Michael van Derven form, and I think he's the guy this year.
Oh, yeah, no, if he could turn around in a blink of an eye, but if you're asking me right now,
that's the problem, isn't it?
I think Joe and Price. My only worry is he peaking at the wrong time of year?
Well, they're bored.
My only.
Yeah, he's played the best darts he's played for 2 years in the first third of the year, hasn't he?
Yeah, where you want to be doing this at the slam the players into the
this is it. If he's run out of steam by the World Cup, he's stuffed for the rest of the year, isn't he? Like because he's playing unreal for the first third of the year. But yeah, in reality, he showed some form that he probably wanted to play up to rather than just fire out in the beginning of the year. I had him getting beat in the final, Matthew. Like, I mean, I can't be much kinder to the lad. Kind of like he's let me down every single week of predicting him, but like I can't. Like I'm doing my best now. I've pulled him back one spot. Like
to be fair,
that was my first bit of producing all night. That was
that does a shirt's gathering dust in the cupboard now.
Yeah, I think I might have the missing one. I need to have a look for that.
Look, everyone, it's been a massive pleasure having you on board for the last few hours here at the Live Lounge. And I've actually been super productive. I've already got next week's guest sorted out.
Have you?
Check me out.
Are you able to announce this, or is it something we have to keep under our hats for a little while?
Oh, I'm just in shock that Phil's prepared.
I was worried that if it's
let me
someone,
settle that one for a minute. I feel like we've never been this prepared on this show. We normally know on Monday afternoon.
If it's someone dead good, I might have to like organise, like send some vouchers for Gob to take his missus out or something, so I can come back on again.
Think about it logically. Where was I today?
Portsmouth.
Who was sat next to me in the commentary box all day?
Don't know. I didn't watch any today. Who was with you? Who was in there? I'm gonna have to go. I'm Sky Plus. I'll get it on Sky
Plus. No, Scotty Dog, Scott Mitchell will be joining us.
Oh no, I knew that because Scott had tweeted that he was commentating. That was Oh, good stuff.
Yeah, we've got Mr. Mitchell.
You know that it would have still been here next Monday, and Dan wouldn't have clicked who it was.
I'd have been on the show with him, mate.
Yeah, Scotty Dog is on next week. That's going to be the first in a record that we're actually a guest in front.
Without doubt. Well, I can't remember a time where we have been. Last week was prepared.
Yeah.
Last week was. Oh, we've changed.
Yeah, we've changed. We're actually organised. We actually know what we're doing. What's going on here? I don't like it. But no, look, thank you ever so much for your continued support. Extended interview with Matt Edgar dropping tomorrow. Plenty of clips off the back of that because we cover many, many subjects. Quite a big one in there as well, which will be interesting when it drops. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Super Series returns tomorrow, 9:30 in the morning. Fallout Bar returns around 10:30, 10:45, depending on how they all play in Manchester this week. Don't know who's on yet. We haven't sorted that one out, but we will have a Fallout Bar. But Phill Bars, Lee Boyce, Dan Simpson, and if he's in the... he's not back in his room yet, look.
No. They're still tucking and tinkering.
Yeah, he's still not recovered, is he? Bless him. But no, look, we have been on Nine Darts. We have been the Live Lounge. It's us signing out for another week. Thank you very much for your continued support, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Ball 1, Joe Taylor, Gareth Kelly. And ball 2, Craig Nixon, Robert Young.